All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the whole elect out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. All right. And what I want to get into today is dealing with, these people don't got it. These people don't got it, as, we, all right, as brothers, go into, these videos and, we watch, and go into news and prophecy and certain alternative news, okay? And we extrapolate, little truths and facts, and we put the pieces to the puzzle together of what's going on in the spirit, which it's all guided by the spirit. How the Lord allows us, to go into this information and put it together, with precepts and bring out the understanding, you know. But as we, over the years, have, been using, the different alternative news and different sources, different truthers and, different insiders and, you know, all these different people, they got certain knowledge, but they don't got it. You see, okay? Going into how, people that's in the highest sectors of society, they have certain knowledge and experts. They might be expertise and, and all these different things when it comes to certain topics. Experts at economy, experts at geopolitics, experts at technology, and experts at, this and that. All right. But when it comes to the true wisdom of Yahweh Bashim Al Shah, they don't got it. Okay. They're lacking, and this is why, the truth that we have, the wisdom that we have, it should be valued. Okay. These different, control opposition, that they put out there and make it seem as if they these top gurus like the Andrew Tates and Candace Owens and, and they got something for everybody. They got control opposition that everybody can relate to, you know. So you got, a spectrum, from Charleston White, like I say, to Candace Owens. All right. They got C. Kirk, he was one, supposed to be these, deep philosophical, debaters. Okay. But these people don't have it, man. Okay. They have certain little points, but overall, they don't have the complete wisdom of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, and that's why they can do, like a 30-minute, video, and they'll be on point, going into certain things. But as soon as they try to go into the scriptures, it go way left. Like the video will be informative as hell. They'll be on point. It's, information coming out. Putting things together, piecing the, piecing things together to paint a picture. And like, damn, and going in. You see, but as soon as they try to go to the scriptures, they go left. All right, because that's where we're the experts. We're the authorities. Start with our apostles and elders when it comes to the spiritual understanding of everything that's going on. They can break down the practical, okay, the technical side of it, okay, with the spiritual aspect, they don't have it. And that's how we know that, because, and this lesson is inspired by a video done by the elder brother, Ariala out of GMS Dallas camp. And this having an aspect or perspective or outlook, because we filter everything in prophecy, then we know how to filter out stuff that don't matter. The only thing that we extrapolate, from all this content, that we consume, if we watch, certain, alternative news or, certain insiders or truthers or whatever, we know to extrapolate the information dealing with prophecy, okay? And we can detect when they go off, because even a lot of this alternative news, is just controlled opposition, to seem sincere, but still lead you, okay, down the path, okay, of the elites, you know? That's why at the end of those videos, what do they tell you to do? Buy this gold, buy this silver, buy this bug out bag. They sell you something, you know, buy these vitamins, satellite phone, okay? Because at the end of the day, none of this is going to matter, okay? You see, the only thing that's going to matter, all right, is being in good standings with Yahweh Bashim Al Shah as an Israelite, okay? So when you go here, Sirach 3:20, it said, "For the power of the Lord is great, and he is honored of the lowly," okay? And see, we're the last people that society suspects to have, the wisdom, okay, of the Most High, to have the understanding of the Most High, to have the answers to everything that's going on, okay? We're the last people that they expect. And the Lord set it up like that, He wanted the truth to be hidden in plain sight, So he gave it to the lowly, you see? Because, as these people, that don't have it, they have, like I say, they have little partial truths about, certain things, the inner workings of things, and people, idolize them, They idolize these certain characters and they look to them, for what to do next, okay? Because they have these platforms and they're part of this certain network, and, they're pushed, you know, throughout the machine, okay? So there's a lot of people, and that plays into Yahweh Shah said there'll be many, all right, false prophets, all right? There'll be many that say I am Yahweh Shah, well, which ultimately saying that they're anointed, So you have all these people, that seem like, they're against the government, and they're against, the deep state and all these different things. But these people don't have it, They have, little information, okay, that the Lord allow us to come across for the edification of the church, all right? But ultimately, these people, all right, are not to be followed, okay? And there's millions of people following, the Alex Jones and Redacted and, all these different things as if they're being led, okay, to some type of salvation from the system, okay? When these people are nothing but, a controlled opposition of the system, okay? And we go into back into Sirach 3:21. It says, "Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search out the things that are above thy strength." Yeah, because you can watch. I've been watching. I've got some stuff lately. I've been on TikTok just trying to get videos and compilations and stuff, and you'll watch the video and they'll be on point about the Illuminati and breaking things down, but then they'll go way left. They'll go way into some other, and that's how we know. Okay, that's the stopping point. You know, you see, even when we edit videos and put together compilations, there's some things that they be on point, but then they'll say something. Either I can edit it out, I don't use it because it can be a stumbling block. A little leaven the whole lump. You see, so we're not here trying to be, these deep, mystical, trying to go all into that. We tap into, a few things, if it's could be potentially edifying, for the body. Okay, but we're not here to get deep into the mysticism and, put the color with this number and, see the green shirt, the green collar shirt go back to, you know, Jake just go, to the the details of it. Well, we're not here to be super deep. We filter everything through prophecy and understanding, like This place is heavily demonic. Okay, understanding that the spiritual wickedness in high places. You see, so we get information that complement those scriptures. Okay, but we don't delve into these deep rabbit holes of unnecessary information. A lot of it be folly. In in Greek mythology. You know, but when you read on verse 22, it said, "But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence." So the things that are commanded of us, first with self-examination, making sure we're on point in the spirit. Okay, you see, constantly examine ourselves, making sure our conduct is on point. Our mindset is on point. We're not too attached, all right, to the things of this world. Okay, make sure we're treating brothers as we should. Whether that's through charity, admonishment, or correction, or rebuke. Because it's all different forms of love. You know, being able to be corrected. You see, thinking on the sacrifice of Yahweh, what that means. Okay, understanding where we at with prophecy. The MOTB. Okay, the MOTB, Jacob's trouble, and World War III. Okay, those are the big three when it comes to prophecy that we're putting emphasis on, man. Okay, we don't put emphasis on things that don't pertain, to prophecy, which lead to salvation, the second coming of Yahweh Shai. Those are things that we think upon. Okay, those are things that we're following and investigating. Okay, not the nonsense. You see, not the celebrity gossip and trying to be a YouTube celebrity. Trying to be on the podcast and all this. Nah, we here, okay, to edify the elect, okay, and put emphasis on prophecy, okay. That's why we're here, okay. And it says, "But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence, for it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret." Because there are certain things, okay, that don't reveal to us in this time, okay. But what the Lord has revealed, we understand it 100%. Okay, the portion that the Lord has revealed to us in this time, all right, is pertaining to salvation and understanding what we're a part of, understanding the promises and what's coming, understanding the concept of what the kingdom is. Okay, I say what it means to be a brother. Okay, we have 100% of that. You see, so we have enough to keep us occupied. All right, within this grace period, man, as we wait upon Yahweh Shai. Okay, in this world they don't got it. Okay, people with millions of dollars, millions of followers don't got it. Okay, verse 23 says, "Be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more." All right, be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are shown unto thee. Okay, than men understand. You see, so we're not curious in unnecessary matters, man. We stick to the script. We filter everything through the script. That's why the majority of the content we watch, okay, is booted out, man. It be a lot of unnecessary talk most of the time. That's why when you gotta filter through things, cross-reference things, okay, because a lot of time they just be talking a bunch of nothing, okay, and then they'll say, some key points here and there, okay, because these people still optimistic of hoping that there is no war, hoping that America, is healed, hoping Babylon is healed, okay, hoping that there is no civil unrest, okay. Think China and Russia gonna, dominate the world next, okay. The BRICS, all this, they're still optimistic, okay, in vanity. You see, so we know what it is. You see, we know the end game. We know the will of Yahweh Shai. Okay, so we're not occupied, are curious and unnecessary matters. And knowing a lot of these control opposition, platforms, they're meant to captivate you with a bunch of, with a few truths, okay, sensationalism, all right, and a bunch of vanity, things that don't matter, okay, and what that still keeps you, ill informed about the whole matter, okay, of what's really going on, okay, you see, and it says, for more things are showed unto thee than men understand. You see, we have just a basic understanding of this truth. That's an elite level of understanding. Like I said, a basic understanding of the truth. Okay, the tribes, understanding who the tribes are, who the Edomites are. Okay, and how Shah, what their sacrifice meant. Okay, going into the nuclear destruction that's to come. You know, Gog and Magog. You know, Iran. The small least of the flock should draw them out. Having that understanding already puts us on the elite level in a small percentage, a very small percentage of people that really understand what's going on. you know. So we emphasize and on things pertaining to prophecy, and we filter this content we watch through scriptures, and if it don't line up, okay, with scriptures, it don't make the cut. So just wanted to put that out there, laying back and off the elder brother, our y'all out there in Dallas. He's going into how these people don't got it. Okay, they don't got the truth. You know, they don't fully understand what's going on. Okay, and majority of them are set up. So it's a privilege, it's an honor. To be in this understanding. To truly have the wisdom, the knowledge that leads to salvation. Okay, the knowledge. Okay, of faith. Understanding faith, and you see, understanding rather take a death than bend the knee to this beast system, man. That's powerful. Okay, being groomed up to take death than to take the MOTB, that's powerful for the sake of Yahushua. The sake of being loyal to our King Yahushua, that's powerful, man. Okay, and I end it there. All right, let's get in the book of Psalm, chapter 65. All right, it's the book of Psalm, chapter 65, and verse 4. It said, "Blessed is the man whom thou choosest." All right. See, there's elect Israelites from the foundation of the earth that were chosen to get it. All right. To understand, to fully understand what's going on. Okay. So there's an elect, okay, of Israel that were chosen to get it. You see? So going here, and it says, and cause it to approach unto thee, okay, that he may dwell in thy courts. We shall be satisfied with the goodness of thine house, even of thy holy temple. Okay, so we're satisfied, because being in the house or the temple, which is a spiritual temple, is being in the house of understanding, the house of true wisdom, the house of faith. Okay, so the Lord has blessed us to be in his inner courts. Okay, so by this wisdom, which we have access through the sacrifice of Yahushua and him sending down the comforter in the form of the Holy Spirit of Kakodash. Okay, well, we have access to the courts, okay, of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, and if you were in the courts of the king, you was privy to things that only a very few elite people knew. Okay, you had first deals on information that no one else knew. Okay, and that's the position that the Lord has us in, and that's why I say blessed. It starts off with saying blessed, is the man whom thou chooses. Okay? So we're in a position, we're blessed, beyond measure, okay, to have a thorough understanding of what's going on according to the Bible, according to the scriptures, you know. So we just daily, show that appreciation, laboring and toiling with the wisdom that we've been given. You see? So Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. Want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash, double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. Peace and blessing salutations to the whole elect Shalom.